Have you ever wondered how to draw a square without using this or this, but using only this and this? Well, if you have or if you have not, today this is what we're going to see in this video. We're going to see two ways of drawing a square within a circle. Doing so, we will look at how to find a perpendicular line and how to divide the circle in 8, and we will use that to draw two types of 8-pointed stars, just like this. This is part of the Toolbox series, so it's a series with basic principles of geometry, so you have them all in one place and you can look for them when you need them. And my name is Lucie Rose. I've been doing geometric drawing for many years. I teach geometric drawing online and I do research on the geometric construction of Gothic rose windows. But for today, let's have a look at our squares and 8-pointed stars. So on this first piece of paper, I'm going to draw two different circles. In the first one, we're going to see how to draw a square and divide the circle in 4. And in the other one, we will see a different way of drawing a square, and that will divide the circle in 8. So to start with, I'm going to want two vertical lines, and I'm going to draw each one 7.5 centimeters from the edge of my paper in this landscape. If you have a different format, this is an A4 European format. If you have a different one, just use 1/4 of the whole length of your paper to find where to place your vertical lines. Also, the two drawings or the two circles are non-related, so you could draw them on two different pieces of paper or two different pages of a notebook, depending where you draw. Here, draw your vertical lines. And then mark the center of your lines. 10.5 in my format. Here. And then we will draw two circles of the same size. They will be approximately a 5 centimeters radius. So this doesn't have to be super exact, as long as it fits on your paper. There. First circle, second circle. And so far I have two circles divided in two. We know it's exactly divided in two because the line goes through the center. And the first thing is going to be to find a perpendicular line to that vertical line to get the 4-fold division. So place the compass point on the intersection with the line and the circle and extend the radius of your compass until you get roughly 3/4 of the diameter, so 1 radius and a half. And this is an approximate measure. I'm going to explain why afterwards. But then just draw a little arc outside of your circle, left and right. And this is important, just keep exactly the same radius that you use down here and place the compass point on the intersection up there. And do the same thing. And it should cross your previous mark like this, and you get two little intersections. And this gives you the perpendicular line. See? And I was saying that it doesn't matter that you have an exact 3/4 of the diameter, because if you take a slightly different measure, for example, if I take something a little bit shorter here, and I do this, same measure from both intersections, you see that the little cross falls on the same line, on the same perpendicular line. So it doesn't matter exactly what measure you take, as long as you use the same up and down. And you can do exactly the same thing on this other circle on the right, and we'll come back to it later. So here, now I also have my perpendicular line. And just refrain, I know it's tempting to just line up the centers of the two circles and just draw a big line, because depending on how you've placed your centers and things like this, it might not be exactly perpendicular, so you really want the perpendicular line to be in relation to that specific circle and not how you think you measured things previously. So I already have divided the circle in 4 here. I have 4 equal parts, and I'm going to link up the intersections to draw our first square. So that's the first easy square. I just have a line, a circle, a perpendicular line, and that's giving me the square. Now on the right hand side, we're going to draw the square on a different way. It's going to be orientated differently. Here you could speak of a dynamic or active square because it's orientated on its point like this. It's still a square, it's just the way it's placed that we call it like that. And on this right hand side, we're going to draw this time a square around the circle. And so to do that, we will come back to the radius of the circle. So really place the compass point in the center you used earlier to draw the circle and readjust on your drawing. Again, if you were to get back to the ruler, you might not measure things exactly the same way. So you really want to use your drawing as a reference. And then with this measure of the radius of the circle on your compass, go on each of the 4 intersections of the lines in the circle and draw big semicircles. So a little bit bigger than half a circle. If I look at my top point here and horizontally, I want to be a little bit above. So the same when you do it from the right here, because you want this intersection. So you want the 2 arcs to cross and it's going to form those petal shapes. Like this. And you're going to get 4 big petals. And if you don't get the intersection, just your arc is maybe not long enough. Here. And now with those 4 intersections, 4 points of the petals, you can draw a square again, but this time the square is going to be outside of the circle and it's going to be placed on its base. So we can talk about a passive or static circle, square. There. And you're going to note as you draw this that the sides of your square are going through the intersections of the lines in the circles, in the circle, and we can say that the sides of the square are tangent to the circle, as in they're touching in one point only. They are not crossing, where you would have 2 intersections. There. And this is very often used as an initial setup for drawing in geometry because it gives you many indications that you can use afterwards. You could start drawing a square grid from this because you already have 4 squares within the square in this case. Also, what you can use it for is to further divide the circle and have an 8-fold division. If you link up the corners of that square and draw the diagonals, you're going to have 8 equal parts of the circle, so 8 slices of the cake, and that enables you to draw an octagon, so an 8-sided polygon, a regular figure, so equal sides, equal angles, and it's just linking one intersection of a line and a circle to the next one, and not taking in account the petals, just the straight lines and the circle. Linking all of these together, you're going to get the octagon. There. So we've seen there's 2 different ways to draw the square and how from a 4-fold you can get to an 8-fold. And now we're going to see the 2 different 8-pointed stars that exist. So I'm going to take a different piece of paper and we're going to draw 2 circles again and divide them each in 8. So again, I'm going to take 7.5 centimeters from the edge of my paper on each side and draw my vertical lines. And mark the centers of the lines. And this time again, we're going to use a roughly 5 centimeters radius. Your compass probably still has this measure from the last step. So draw the circle, and the next step will be to draw the perpendicular line. So you could pause the video to try and remember how it goes, or just go along with me. So we're going to use roughly 3/4 of the diameters to get our little intersections just outside of the circle. And this is why we use 3/4, by the way. It's just because it falls not inside the circle, it's outside of it, but it's not too far away. So this approximate 3/4 is a good indication. Then you can draw your perpendicular lines. And to further divide each circle in 8, I'm going back to the radius of my circle on the drawing and using that to find just the intersections. This time I'm not drawing the whole petals, so just a little arc roughly level with where my compass point is, so be it horizontally or vertically, and you should get these intersections, which are like the points of the petals, but we are just minimizing the number of lines on that drawing. And this circle should be the same size, so we can go ahead and use that. There, and now that we have the 4 corners of what would be a square, we're just going to use them to draw the diagonals. We're not drawing the whole squares. There, so they're now divided in 8 equal parts. I have 8 points on the circle where it's cut by the lines. And we're going to use that to draw 2 different types of stars. So the stars are regular, so that means that the sides are straight. They are just ways to link up the points on the circle. And the first one is the very easy one. It's made of 2 overlapping squares. So just like the 6-pointed star, which was 2 overlapping triangles. You can watch the video on that somewhere there. So the first square and then the second square inside that circle. So they're overlapping exactly, and that gives me 8 points. Now for this star, another way to look at it beside it being 2 squares is that you could say, okay, so this side of the star, starting from here, I'm cutting 2 slices of my cake. So from this intersection, skipping one, linking to the second one, and you get this line, and that's just going around like this. This new star is exactly the same process, but cutting 3 slices. So if I start here on the north point, and I'm going to skip 1, skip 2, and link to the third one. So I'm cutting through 3 slices of my division like this. Now that's a star that could be drawn in one continuous line, contrary to this one. So you could carry on from this intersection here and be like, okay, so I'm going to cut 3 slices, link here, and then 1, 2, 3, link here, etc. But the way I like to draw it, because I find it's more clear and a bit easier, is that I started here, I'm going to move 1 to the right here, and then 1 to the right here as well. So I'm still starting from here, and I'm still cutting through 3 slices all the time. So that gives me this line, and now you can keep on moving your ruler like this, and it's a little bit easier, I think, until you get the full star. There you go, we have the 2 stars. So you can see that this one has more pointy points, more acute angles. The other thing that's interesting to note about the stars is that if you were to, for example, coloring the triangles forming the points of this one, you're going to see a little bit more clearly that there's an octagon within the star. So if you forget about the points, you have an octagon inside it. And if you look at this other star here, so we have the points there, but then we have triangles between the points. And these triangles, if you start coloring them in, especially if you do only 1 out of 2, you're going to see the square again. So I don't know if you can see the shape of the square here. So it's exactly the same shape, this triangle here, as this one, it's just smaller. It's the same proportion, so it's like this. The first 8-pointed star is contained within the second one. And we have the octagon again inside it. And this means that if you were to take this first star and prolongate each of the lines, and they would end up crossing and intersecting there, and that would form the same shape of point that we have here, and you'll end up with the same shape as this star. So I hope you found this useful, and that maybe you discovered or remembered how to draw a square, how to divide the circle in 4 and 8, and how to use that to draw the 8-pointed stars. You can subscribe to the channel for more videos around geometry. I have also launched the Geometry Café, which is a monthly live session recorded, available through a subscription on the platform Buy Me a Coffee, where we talk about geometry, we draw small patterns, we talk about the tools, that sort of thing. So you can find more information in the description. Also, I have more online courses coming around the geometry of Gothic rose windows, so you can check my Instagram or sign up for my newsletter to have more details about that, or directly go to my website. And the link to subscribe to my newsletter will be in the description as well. And obviously you can also follow me on Instagram, so Lucie Rose Geometry for all the geometry stuff, and Lucie Rose Art for my artwork. Thanks a lot for watching this video, and see you next time.